we were talking at dinner, and Mr. Pennebaker, who they call him Penny, most people do, Penny mentioned that he was going to watch it tonight, and I expressed some surprise because I can't imagine the dozens, if not scores of time the man has seen it. And I was, well, you said part of it was to see how it is holding up. I guess you can determine physically how the film looks, because it looks great, I thought. And also how it holds up. I mean, what do you actually look for it again?
I don't know. It's kind of what I was looking for in the first place. You know, this guy was really interesting to me because everybody thought he was a folk singer, kind of going to England to establish American folk singing or something. I didn't want to make a film about a folk singer. I thought he was a poet, and I wanted to make a film about a poet. So it was. I spent a lot of time watching and listening and thinking about him, and I still think about it because anybody that says she's true like ice, like fire, that's poetry to me. And anybody that just talks that way, or I don't, it was a search. This film was a search, and I guess I haven't stopped searching really. So I come to look at it again.
Now, the beginning of the film is very famous in its own right. Some people argue it might be the first modern music video where it has the posters. And that seems to strike with what you're just saying because it emphasizes the word. I mean, we're watching the words, and he's playing with those words, and in some cases putting puns on those words. How did that beginning come about?
I was told by Albert Grossman to go down and meet Bob and Bob Newirth, the two of them, at a bar down in the village. And I went down, and we sort of eyed each other because he had seen a film I had done. He'd seen the film that started at Daybreak, and I don't know what he made of that, but we talked about it, not much, and then he said, you know, what do you think of this for an idea for a filming where I'll write out the words to a song I'm writing, and I'll hold them up. And I said, that's a fantastic idea. I'll bring a whole lot of shirt cardboards and we'll do it. And that's how it sort of began. And I think the last couple days we were in England, we all sat around. Donovan helped do. Donovan's a very good drawer, it turns out. So we all sat around on the floor of the hotel room doing these cards. And then we went out and we shot it first in the garden behind the hotel, and the policeman came and said, no filming in this garden, and started grabbing me, and we were having a little tussle there. And so we abandoned the garden, and then we went into the back of the hotel where it was just an old alleyway, and shot it. And pretty much we just did one take, and nobody thought much about it, and we had no idea what we were going to do with it until I finished the film, and I was sort of looking at it and thinking, what are the things that are wrong with it now that I can fix? And I realized I had it starting where it starts after that, where he says, well, you start out standing. And I thought, that's kind of a good way to start a film. And I thought, no, nobody knows who the hell he is. I got to get him on stage somehow. This is to have this shadowy face say, start out standing doesn't hold up. So I took that thing and just stuck it on the front, and it never came off.
Oh, thank goodness, I love it. And I noticed that Allen Ginsberg is in it, and on the DVD commentary you mentioned that he was like giving it its blessing.
Yeah, Allen was sort of an old friend of mine. I knew him when we were all in the village together. So I knew him when he had no beard and his hair was very short.
You are rightly very famous for being a real pioneer with the idea of a film that doesn't use narration, doesn't use talking heads, just sort of objective. The classic line, of course, is fly on the wall concept. Was that
Which I sort of object to. I hate the idea of being a fly on the wall.
Well, I was going to get to that because
I could be an alligator on the wall.
Yeah, fly's not so good. Although you like small cameras, you need a really small one to be a fly on the wall. But anyway, how did that style evolve for you? Were you consciously saying, I don't want to have narration, or is it just that it kind of evolved that way for you, or how did it work?
It's sort of, I guess it evolved. For me, making films is like, it's like going and searching for gold or digging up something out of the ocean that's sunk. It's a search. It's a kind of, it's like going into the woods to see what's there. It's an adventure. And Chris, who's my partner, and I both, that's what we make films for. We go out without knowing what's going to happen. There's no way we could write a script. And it turns out it's hard to raise money because people say, well, what's this film going to be about? And you say, I don't know. And I think you're an idiot and get you out of the room as fast as they can. But the idea of searching for something by way of a camera is kind of amazing when you think of what the camera is. I mean, it's all been invented almost in our time. I mean, in the 1800s, they did have cameras, and you had to stand for half an hour in front of it to have your picture taken. But they were something that somebody discovered and probably knew about long before they knew about pieces of glass and what light did going through them. But the fact is, the camera is an amazing device which, when you point it at something, can't lie. And when you think about that, that's kind of a fantastic idea. And if you're going out to search for something, boy, that's what you want to have, something that won't lie to you and tell you what you found. And so all my films, kind of, that's what they are, searches for something. And then after you've got all that search down on film and it's piled up in cans somewhere all around the room, then you have to sit down and make theater out of it, because people aren't interested in your search, they're interested in theater. And you've got to make theater, and theater is a different thing from searching for something. It's like a kind of element of perfection. It's like watching a person do a perfect dive. And boy, you know when it's perfect, and you know when it's imperfect. And that's what you know, and that's what enables you to really make some kind of thing out of theater. You know when theater is good, and you know when it's a waste of time. And when it's good, it changes your life in some funny way, and that's what you look for.
I've always been fascinated with one of the things about documentary filmmaking, and I was wondering what your idea about it is, and that is that we are searching for the truth, you're searching for the truth, and with your camera, but to what degree is the camera itself a factor in that truth? In other words, we're watching all those wonderful backstage scenes, arguing with the guy, and mind screwing with that other, whatever, all that stuff going on. The one thing we don't think about is that you and a camera are there too. And what effect does that have, and how do you make the situation as truthful as possible, even despite the fact that you're there with a camera and a mic?
This is the age-old question. I don't know the answer. I think everybody has to sort of solve that for themselves. Mm-hmm. I mean, in a way, that's the audience's search. Because I have to tell you, the camera is really goofy looking. It's a homemade camera. So it looks like a house with a bad shingled roof. It has that quality on people. And there's only me, and then there was Jones, who was taking sound, but you never see her with a microphone in that whole film. It's just amazing. She's sitting beside Bob when he's going over the poor guy from Time Life. Yeah. And she's sitting there recording that, and you would have no idea she's doing that. She's so good. And she'd never taken sound from me before. She was a friend of Bob's, and we just showed her how an auger worked, and she was fantastic. And
I was thinking while I was watching this that you had a lot of very difficult sound situations. I mean, there was a lot of echoey kind of situations that could have been bad. You had a lot of crowds, a lot of crowd noise. It's amazing what you can hear out of that movie.
Well, I think what we decided when we started to try to make these films for theater, as opposed to, audiences at your club or church or something, which is how documentaries originated. The one thing we had to do is to get good sound, because everybody home had these incredible high fidelity sound systems, and if you didn't have good sound, people were going to run you down. It wasn't going to work.
Some of you may not know that Penny was originally an engineer. Is that correct? You were trained as an engineer?
Yeah, I was,
Which then led to the idea that you are very also well known for inventing a lot of your own equipment, which made the world smaller and more compact and easy to deal with, like that camera you're talking about, right?
Well, we had to solve the problem of sync sound if we wanted to have dialogue. And if you want to have theater, you got to have dialogue. Shakespeare taught us that, you know, so we all know that's the case. And getting a sync sound camera took 2 or 3 years of our lives of working.
The Ellington piece that opened at the Short,
Yeah,
that was your first?
That was practically my first. I made a film with my 3-year-old daughter in which she taught me really how to make a film. I mean, I bought a camera at a pawn shop, an Eastman Kodak, a city special, which was it took a 100-foot roll, and you had to load it so it was a time-consuming camera, but very good, very sharp lens. And I figured out I was going to make a film with it. I'd make a film in the park, and I immediately saw a wonderful scenario in which my daughter would have a balloon, and she'd be walking through the zoo, and all the animals would be watching her. And I thought, that's such a cute idea. People will be knocked out by it. So off we go to the zoo with my new camera, and my new camera had a tripod that came with it, and I was trying to set up the tripod, which was so stiff it wouldn't work. So in the film, you actually see me throw the tripod away. And I never used one again. That was my last tripod, I think. But we started off our little film expedition, and about 5 or 10 minutes, a few tigers and elephants paid attention. But the fact is, my daughter got very bored because there was a lot of setting up stuff and getting the animal looking right. And off she went, and I had to kind of run and chase after her. And she found, there is in Central Park near the zoo, there's a merry-go-round, and she had never seen a merry-go-round, and the music sort of drew her to it. And there she was watching this merry-go-round, and I arrived with the camera, you know, no elephants or tigers in sight. And I realized that suddenly she found something that really knocked her out. So we filmed it. She gets on the merry-go-round and we film that. And I thought, you know, if you're making films about live people and you don't have a script, you should let them decide what to do and you shouldn't decide for them. And that was kind of the last time I had to learn that lesson.
With all that handheld camera work that you then later went on to do, how do you feel about the Steadicam? Came along a little later for you, but...
Well, the Steadicam was just, it made me look like a paraplegic or something. I kind of didn't want to sort of weight the whole thing down with equipment, or even, I didn't want to appear to know about equipment that the people I was filming didn't know. I mean, I wanted to get rid of all of that. It was like, that's kind of narration for me in a film. I was like, I wanted it to be like a home movie, you know, at your family's party where your aunt gets drunk and falls in the pool. I wanted it to have that quality, that you didn't set it all up to be something else.
What did you think of Bob Dylan, working with him?
Well, we got to be very good friends. We're still partners, you know. We shook hands on it. We didn't even sign a piece of paper. We just said 50-50, and it's been 50-50 ever since.
Oh, that's great. Now, you made a movie many years later, right? Didn't you follow up some aspects?
Yeah, we did Howard Hawk, who was the other. You see him once in a while. He was Jones's husband. I had a camera. He shot some stuff during the concerts, but I didn't use any of his stuff because I was so set on not having it be a film, a music film, you know. And then later, when I started looking at some of the things that Dylan did, especially the songs, what I think of as the love songs, which you don't think twice, etc. I realized I missed something important. So we made a little kind of coda to go with the thing, in which it's a gentler, nicer Dylan, certainly, and it's a lot of Howard's film in there of him singing. And I kind of, when I think back, I kind of like the way he sang the songs, because they were what drew people, you know, those songs were